Mike? Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'm trained as a performer on stage and I act, usually in English. But the best acting role I've had to do on now is to be the caregiver. And that role, as Shakespeare says, the world is a stage, is one that you don't have a script for. You have to devise, you have to improvise, and you have to come up with the best solutions as the time is there, as a situation that happens, as the events unfold. And the most challenging aspect of it is human relations. It's not the illness that causes grief, it's how we deal with ourselves and how we deal with those people around us that face this illness. And today, I must say, after about almost 2 years since my mother got diagnosed, I must say that it has been a gift. My mother's dementia is a gift to me and to my family. A gift because it brought us so much closer. A gift that towards the journey, it hasn't ended. My mother is still in her stages of dementia, and you know, she's quite a character when she's dementing. She's different. But it's a gift because I see my mother not as what you saw her. She wasn't like this before. Mr. Wong said something about character development. We change as caregivers, but our dementing parents, siblings, loved ones changed too. She became a joker. She never was. She is a typical, sorry if I would say typical, but for a Malay person, there is a kind of frame for a Malay makcik, you know? Suka bertudung, masak-masak, duduk rumah, tak nak keluar. You know, my mother's like that. She's, janganlah buat malu. She's like that. Too shy, too embarrassing. Don't talk so loudly. Don't laugh so loudly. Don't be rude. Don't speak out of turn. Speak when you are talked to. Sit properly. She is a wonderful traditional Malay woman. Religious, loving, generous with the cooking, and of course, in typical fashion of all Malay women, wonderful cook. When she wasn't dementing, she was the floor chef, not the house chef, but the floor chef, meaning the people living on the 9th floor gets food, occasionally. My mother will bake mee siam, mee rebus, pedas, not pedas, she will mix it, she will make it. And if I say, Mom, Mr. Chong, which is just 2 doors away, I don't know whether he can take this sambal. Tak apa, dia boleh belajar. He can learn. A bit of pedas is better than not pedas. Orang Cina, tak ada pedas, manalah boleh makan. Mom, you shouldn't say these things, you know. But it's not a racial or racist comment. She was just stating a fact that she knew. At the market, the Chinese food looked quite bland. You know, it's quite white with the noodles. Where are all these chili sauces that you tamba and make them red? So she would advise Mr. Chong next door, eat more chili, Mr. Chong, very nice. But when she began dementing, the food stopped. She stopped cooking. The funny thing is, the signs came, but I wasn't aware. I was the single daughter, I'm the only child. And at the time when my mother was starting to have dementia, I was just embarking on my PhD in arts education. I was going away to stay for 3 long years at the University of Warwick in UK. And I thought everything was going to be settled. My mom looked spirited, she still was of good health, she was still cooking, and on my night that I was taking the flight, she cooked me a nice, make sure that I eat all the sambal belacan and everything was there, just in case for 3 years I would tak dapat lah sambal-sambal ni, kesian kau, nanti kau kurus. You know, food is the way she showed love. My mother never said, I love you. Her kiss was this, cium. No, mak, tak cium, tu bau. Orang cium macam gini. Basah. But when she started having dementia, we kissed. We gave kisses every day. I hugged my mom as I've never hugged her before. We don't hug, we salam. But salam was dispensed with hugging and headbutting. I don't know, I don't have kids myself. I'm married, but I'm not into kids. Anyway, for those who have children, you know that when you have babies, when babies want affection, they put their heads to you. Mothers out there would recognize this. And when you put your head back to them, they lean on you. There is a comfort when the heads connect. And that was the first sign we realized that my mother is slowly becoming a child. She is 86, but she has a mentality and a verve of a 10, perhaps 11. Self-diagnosed, of course. I'm not a doctor, but because, you know, as you said, we live so close to our loved ones who are ill, we get to know more about the, you know, the mannerism of the loved ones that we have. So she was like a child, and true enough, in true child fashion, she loves sweets. Whenever you go out, she will say, "Ada gula-gula." Jub-jub, eh? Jub-jub. My husband, what is jub-jub? Oh, those pastels. There was a brand in the old days, the pastels is jub-jub. So my mother calls those pastels jub-jub. So you have to bring some jub-jub back. And it's the best way to get her to eat her medicine. Ma, jub-jub. And she will do this. Means she wants it. She loves her coffee. Kopi. So in the end, we had a timetable pasted on her wall when she can have coffee. Because otherwise, she'll be too high-strung. And the doctor says that, you know, with too much coffee, she can't sleep, which, oh, that's a different incident. At night, she's a different person. She's a singer. At night, she sings songs that has no tune that you recognize, but is the best time at 2 a.m. She would wake up at 3 a.m. sometimes, and then she'll go, Sandewara. She will start saying, "Apalah mana aku punya kain, kau buang aku punya kain Kain lepas aku tadi tak ada lah kat katil, kasi aku taruh kat katil, kau dah ambil lah." And we will wake up, or I will wake up, because she needs that hug at the time when she's going wild with this kain lepas that she must have given away when she was in her 40s, but now at 86 she remembers. And she asks for this kain lepas every night when she wakes up between 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. It's like a record loop that goes, kain lepas for some people who don't know, sorry, it's the sarong. You know, but you know you wear sarong like this, but kain lepas is a very special one. It's an opened sarong. And when you wear it, it's really much more ketat, and it shows your hips, you know. So unfortunately, but you know, she must have worn that when she was much younger, during the days when she wears the kabaya. But now that she's dementing, she thinks of those kain lepas, and of course, she hits out at the ones who's sleeping next to her, her husband, my father. Kau kasih kau punya kendak Kendak is a word that we have not heard for a long time. Means your mistress or someone else. Even though it's not true, but it is what he is now, the bearer of that. So at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you have to come out and go, "Ya mak, tak apa. Sarung tak ada pun tak apa mak. Ini kan barang. Mak ada kaki, mak ada tangan, boleh jalan mak." You talk. You've changed the subject. Nak coklat tak mak? 3 a.m. Nak makan coklat? Coklat tau ada kacang. Ferrero Rocher ada kacang. And immediately coklat. Coklat come, let's get up and eat some chocolate. And the subjects changed. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., chocolate. By the kitchen, me and my mother eating chocolate. The domestic help gaining weight, well, I exercise. Because it's true, food is the way to distract, because that's what my mother is good for, food. And the best distraction is, hari ini kita makan ubat, tak nak. Lepas tu boleh makan bubur caca. Bubur caca, boleh buat Kau pandai buat bubur caca? Yes, I know how to make it now. But I'll say, tak tahu. Mari kita buat sama-sama. So she with a tongkat would stand by the kitchen and she will look. Ramas taruh uli. Taruh colour. And she'll take with a tongkat and she will go and get her colouring for the, you know, the bubur caca has got these jellies, right? Which is made of sago or tapioca flour. So she would say, Mera, red, Biru, blue. And we would add it together, and like a craft, mine, of course, is uglier than hers, she would roll the tapioca flour into a long tube, and she would cut them out. Green, blue, yellow, and white. And she would boil them. But remember, boil the white one first. Because if you boil the colored one first, the liquid will be colored and your white will be ugly. Chomot. My mother has now have a character. She has a character. My mother now has a character. She's vain. This picture was taken in March. I invited a photographer friend of mine to do an activity for 2 hours in the house. It was a photographic activity, meaning she's the model and we go around her taking pictures. She loved it. I didn't show you other pictures, there were loads of it, you know. We combed her hair, the photograph was taken. We put on makeup for her, which is just powder and eyeliner, which upon her request, it was photographed as well. And of course, she enjoyed herself for that 2 hours, and at the end of the 2 hours, she had forgotten. No memory. 2 weeks later, when the photographs came back in a digital format, because I wanted her to select the photographs that she would like printed, she said, bila kita ambil ni? When? When did we do this? 2 weeks ago, Mom. And all she cared about was, muka aku comot bedak. Bedak. Macam tikus jatuh kat tepung. For those who I can understand, she said, oh my God. She didn't say my God, sorry. She just said, oh my face is messy, is blotchy because of the powder that you didn't pat well. I look like a rat that has fallen into a bag of flour. She's vain. And then the next statement was, tak nampak celak? Celak is an eyeliner. You can't see my eyeliner. What's wrong with you? How did you make me up? That character of her was not there before dementia. This relationship of kissing, hugging, and cooking together was not there before dementia. There are problems. There are many problems. The howling at night, my father who can't accept that she has dementia, who doesn't understand what dementia is because he at 93 doesn't understand why his wife is screaming at him at night. There are these problems. But the gift that you're given about love, the humanity that has come out in this household, the joy that we have as people, loving one another as people, far outweighs the trouble that I sometimes experience. Those troubles are just sometimes. My mother's need for affection made me realize that as a Singaporean, sometimes I forget what it means to be human. We chase where the dollar is. We work far too hard. We are rude at the NTUC fair price. We're not really nice when we're pushing our trolley. We pretend at the airport there's no one in front of us except our luggage and the trolley cart. And we just push it right through. And if we step on someone's foot, we don't have to say sorry. It's just ground. There are many things about my life in Singapore that make me dislike Singapore. And that's why every 10 years I fly away. I want to go out to find that humanity that I don't think my country has. But when my mother has dementia, it made me realize sometimes I don't need to ask for that humanity. It begins from me. It begins now. And that's why I was so willing. Tonight I'm taking a flight back to the UK to finish up my 4 months of writing because I'm at the tail end of my PhD. I need to finish it because I keep coming back. So I'm going away tonight and I haven't packed. But I agreed to do this for Mohan over there because it is in these kind of settings that I feel the humanity of Singapore the strongest. I listened to Jasmine. I listened to, Li Fang. And earlier I was talking to Linda. Where was Linda? I was not talking to Linda earlier. I was shaking hands with her, but this heart pat thing. And then, of course, there was Francis. And when I was listening to them, and I was just talking to Priyanka, it didn't matter if you're a good storyteller or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you found love, and you share it so willingly. And for that, I thank you. I thank you so much for giving me this chance to believe that we as Singaporeans have humanity, love, and care. Fortunately, in times of need, it appears, and we hope that we all don't have to wait that long before we show it again. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my wonderful journey with my mother, Cik Bibi binti Muhammad Salam, the queen of our house. Thank you.
And thank you,
Thank you
Noorlinah,
so much.
for the great sharing.
You want
And
to talk about this, right?
yeah,
No, you want to ask about this,
yep. And we actually have this book outside, which is the Grandmother's Garden. Do you want to say a little bit about the book?
Well, it started with my grandmother's garden, started by two young people, Jeremy Boo and Sien Tie, and they were just coming out of the Polytechnic. They're trying to do a school project, and they chanced upon dementia. And they didn't know much about it until they met a doctor, Dr. Philip Yap. And there's something that Dr. Philip Yap said, which I would like to read for the gentleman who asked the question about separating man and the husband and wife.
Yes.
And Dr. Yap says, as a geriatric specialist, that much of our illnesses, much of our treatment for dementia is always surrounding biology, meaning medicine, care, nursing, doctor. But what is important is biography and relationships. And one of the things he said is the worst about the greatest fear about losing the biography is when identity and the surroundings of the comfort of the dementing person is removed. So he says here, the best way to cope with dementia is to be with your loved ones and to be even with the loved ones whom you think you hate. Because the biography and the self-identity, the selfhood, is connected to that center. You're removing it, the deterioration will be worse. And in this book, which Sien Tie edited, is a collection of other caregivers of dementia. And they're all compiled in this little book. Was his Polytechnic project. And I contributed a story in here. It was my way of coping with the first 6 months of stress when my mother was howling and crying nonstop. And it was my way of dealing with a situation that I was never prepared for. And finding other people, reading other people's story, helped me. So if you are interested, please proceed and have a look at the book outside.
And of course, a big thank you.